Okay, let's get this out of the way. Attack of the Clones is the worst title ever for a Star Wars movie. But let's face it, there's been worse titles out there. Hey everybody, this is David, and today I'm going to be talking about Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, the second prequel in George Lucas's Star Wars saga. So first of all, let's get into this story. Basically, Senator Amidala, that's right, Senator, not Queen Amidala anymore. It's been 10 years since Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, and now this one, Senator Amidala is being attacked by an assassin who's trying to kill her. So Obi-Wan and Anakin Skywalker, Anakin who's now a grown-up man, almost in his 20s, probably 19, 20. He's, hormones are starting to grow, and he's falling attractive to Padme. And, who wouldn't? It's Natalie Portman, and she's very beautiful. And, Obi-Wan and Anakin go on this mission to find out who is trying to kill her. So Anakin is assigned to protect her by going back to Naboo, while Obi-Wan goes to investigate whatever this assassin is and where he came from, or she, for that matter. They don't know right away. But when they do find out, they know it's a he named Jango Fett, who is part of this creation of a clone army that was made for the Republic. Who made it? We don't really get some clear answers there, but we do know that it was made specifically for the Republic to use against the Trade Federation. So, here, it's a little bit more, I think there's a little bit more of a plot there than there was in Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, which kind of had a weaker plot, which is kind of good, I guess, depending on how you look at the overall execution. I will say, though, I wasn't a big fan of the Anakin and Padme romance going on in this movie. I think this is actually some of the weakest parts of the movie because of how weak the dialogue is. I wouldn't have minded the romance between Anakin and Padme and the development on that if it was better written, because a lot of the dialogue they say to each other is very cringeworthy, and it's hard to listen to once in a while. And most of the time, I even skip. Like, there's that one scene where they're, running in the field, and they start rolling on the grass together, and I'm like, really? I skip a lot of that stuff nowadays all the time because it's my least favorite part about the movie. I do like the Anakin and Padme side of things. I do like when they do go to Tatooine, though. That's where the Anakin and Padme stuff start to get a little bit more interesting, especially when Anakin finds out his mother has been kidnapped by Sand People, and he goes out looking for him, because that's where his dark side starts to show a little bit more, and that's the development I wanted to see with Anakin, not this Padme stuff, even though that plays a somewhat of a more bigger part in Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. To me, the stuff that is more interesting in this movie is actually the Obi-Wan storyline that goes on, where Obi-Wan goes and chases off against Jango Fett and finds out all that stuff about the clones. To me, that's actually the more juicy stuff in the movie, because Obi-Wan, by this point, I said in the last review of The Phantom Menace that Ewan McGregor was kind of a lackluster in Episode 1. He wasn't horrible, but you can tell, he's very monotone in that one. This one, Ewan McGregor steps up his game and really takes center stage now that Liam Neeson as Qui-Gon Jinn is out of the way. He is the highlight of the film. Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan is the best part of this movie, and even the next one, and it shows. And this is one of the reasons why a lot of people wouldn't mind an Obi-Wan Kenobi spin-off now that Disney has bought the rights and they're doing all these spin-off projects. I'm one of those people that are campaigning for an Obi-Wan spin-off film with Ewan McGregor back in the role, because I think he was awesome and he deserves a chance at a stronger film. Even though I remember at the time I thought Attack of the Clones was the weakest of the prequel trilogies, maybe even the weakest of the entire franchise. I do look back at it now and I realize it's not as bad as I remember it. And I'd probably even put it more above the Phantom Menace now, which I like that one. I thought it was all right. But yeah, I think I like Attack of the Clones a little bit better. Now, does that make it a great film? No, of course not. But it's entertaining enough, I think. The action scenes, again, they're very strong and powerful. The special effects take it to the next level, so those are really good as well. Christopher Lee as Count Dooku, I said this in the last film, I wish they didn't kill Darth Maul off, but that's not to knock Christopher Lee out of the way. Christopher Lee is an amazing actor, and he is definitely another one of the great things about this movie, because he's so iconic with his voice. A lot of people might remember him. This was during the time when he was doing Lord of the Rings at the same time. He played Saruman in Lord of the Rings trilogy. And some people might also remember him as in The Man with the Golden Gun, the James Bond Roger Moore film. So he definitely bring a great depth to the film as well. I really like that moment where Obi-Wan is captured and him, Count Dooku and Obi-Wan have that little interaction with each other. It's like one of the best acted scenes in the entire movie, I think. Anyways, I will admit though, even though I think the action sequences in Attack of the Clones are even better than the Phantom Menace, I do feel the lightsaber battle at the end is probably one of the weakest in the prequel trilogy. It's very short. There's a lot more close-ups to this fight, and it probably has to do with the fact that Christopher Lee is older and can't really do his own stunts. So I noticed they go close to his face quite a lot to try to trick the audience that, oh, see, he's actually fighting. But you can tell quite a bit that it's actually a stunt double when it's the far off shots. So I just wanted to throw that out there. But it is worth noting that this is the movie that has Yoda kicking some ass, and that was really cool. I remember seeing this for the first time, and I really thought it was cool. I thought, yeah, wow, we're actually seeing Yoda fight. This is amazing. Another worthy note about this movie is that we get less Jar Jar in this movie. So if you hated Jar Jar in The Phantom Menace, don't worry, he's only in maybe 2 or 3 scenes in this entire movie, and he actually kind of plays an important part in this one, because it's kind of his fault that the clones are allowed, that the Republic is allowed to use the clones, because he speaks on Padme's behalf, which is so technically, shouldn't we all blame the Clone Wars on Jar Jar, since he kind of gave the Chancellor power? Speaking of the Chancellor, I didn't really talk about him in the last movie, but the actor does a really great job, and this is the same actor who played the Emperor back in the original trilogy. So the fact that they brought him back, and it feels like he's playing a younger version of himself, because I didn't think he was that young in Return of the Jedi. And when I found out that this was the same actor, I'm like, wait, what? This is the same actor from Return of the Jedi is still playing, Palpatine in these movies? And, you think the guy never ages, but that was makeup back in Return of the Jedi. So that's actually cool, worth noting about that one. So guys, with all that being said, I'm going to give this movie a 7 out of 10. I really enjoyed Attack the Clones, despite the clones only come really in the last half hour of the film. That was also kind of a disappointment, but for the most part, the Obi-Wan scenes really keep you engaged. I think the first half hour of the film is good, and the last half hour is really strong too. Despite some of the wonky acting, and specifically by Hayden Christensen, I hate knocking on a fellow Canadian, but yeah, I mean, I have to call it like it is. His acting ain't strong here, but I've seen him in some other movies, and I think he was stronger there, which again kind of proves to my point that George Lucas was the problem, not really the actors. I just think Hayden Christensen didn't understand how George Lucas directs. And but Ewan McGregor, Obi-Wan scenes, they kind of really save the movie a lot, especially if you skip through a lot of the Anakin and Padme moments until they get to Tatooine. That's where I think the movie starts to get really much more stronger and better paced. So yeah, guys, check out Attack of the Clones if you haven't, and judge the prequels for what they are. They might not be perfect. Don't go in with high standards. This is also why I say to watch the originals first and then the prequels after. If the originals win you, then you know for sure you're going to love the prequels. Don't start with the prequels, because then if you hate them, you're going to think the originals are like that too, but they're not. The originals are actually at a much higher standard. Except for Revenge of the Sith. I think Revenge of the Sith can be up there, but I'm going to leave that till next time. So until next time, guys, take care.